Oh, we sent members.
Good evening. It's March 14th, 2023. Welcome to the San Marino Unified School District Board of Education meeting. Here is your board president, Shelley Ryan.
Thank you, Dr. Choi. We would like to begin the regular open session. There is nothing to report in closed session. I'd like to call the order. Pledge of Allegiance.
Thank you, President Ryan. Today we are honored with two of our. It's okay.
There are students that do.
Yes. We are honored with two of our amazing San Marino High School student titans. We are going to introduce Lillian Panning and Celine Cheat, who lead the Board of Education tonight in the flag salute.
Please rise.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
So at this time, if you would like to share something exciting about San Marino High School, we would love to hear about it.
So we are the two presidents of our school robotics team, Titanium Robotics. I'm our business president, and this is Lillian, our engineering president. This weekend, we competed in our first season competition in Orange County, and we were able to rank 18th out of 47 teams, and we were chosen by the top 5th team to form an alliance, and we made it to the semifinals whilst also being able to win against the team that actually did end up finaling.
So I personally think. So I'm really proud of our robot that we made this year. I'd like to thank the board members who ended up coming to our rollout event a few weeks ago. It was really nice to have you guys there. We have another competition in a few weeks where we hopefully will do even better. And it's been a great season so far.
So Lillian and Celine, we have certificates to present you with out of appreciation for you being here tonight and leading us in the pledge, and also for sharing your experience at San Marino High School. Got that right? No. Thank you so much.
All right, 6B, approval of the agenda. May I have a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve the agenda. A second.
Thank you, Mrs. Lamb. Thank you, Mrs. Gill. And with that, we'll do a roll call. Mrs. Lamb,
Aye.
Mrs. Gill.
Aye.
Mrs. Chung.
Aye.
Mr. Chang.
Aye.
Mrs. Ryan, aye. Motion passes. Approval of the agenda. Now I need an approval of the minutes for February 28th, Board of Education meeting minutes.
I'll make a motion for the approval of the minutes from the 2/28/23 meeting minutes. I second it.
All right. Didn't hear who said that first, but thank you, Mrs. Gill, and thank you, Mrs. Lamb. Let's do a roll call vote. Mr. Chang.
Aye.
Mrs. Chong.
Aye.
Mrs. Gill.
Aye.
Mrs. Lamb.
Aye.
Mrs. Ryan, aye. And so the approval of minutes for February 28th has passed. San Marino Unified School District Spotlight. All right. 7A, the National Merit Scholarship Finalist Recognition. The board will recognize the San Marino High School National Merit Scholarship Finalists. I am calling up Principal Kurtenbach.
Good evening, President Ryan, members of the board, Superintendent Dr. De La Torre, student board member, district administration. It is San Marino High School's pleasure and honor to recognize our 6 national merit finalists, one of which just led you in the pledge. Our 6 finalists are Neil Chen, Michael Egan, Esther Leanne, Elsa Panning, Lillian Panning, and Thaler Villanueva. These seniors are truly exceptional people. Later this year, those selected to receive a National Merit Scholarship will be notified with a confidential correspondence to San Marino High School from the National Merit Scholarship Corporation. About 7,500 National Merit Scholarships of these types will be offered for 2023. 2,500 single payment National Merit Scholarships for which all finalists are considered. 1,000 corporate sponsored merit scholarship awards for which finalists who met a company or a business grantor's specified criteria will be considered, and 4,000 college sponsored merit scholarship awards for which only finalists who attend their respective sponsored institutions are considered. All are chosen based on their abilities, accomplishments, and potential for success in rigorous college studies. Although all students who become finalists are outstanding, not all finalists receive a National Merit Scholarship Award. Of the 15,000 finalists in the 2023 program, about half will win an award, and no student will receive more than 1 scholarship offer. So to put this in perspective, this is a competition that every high schooler is able, every high school senior is eligible for who takes the PSAT and the SAT. Only 15,000 semifinalists are selected. We had 7 out of a school of 800 students, out of a class of less than 200, we had 7. That's very impressive. And out of our 7, 6 moved to the finalist position. So that is more than impressive if you think about they're up against every other high school senior in the nation. And our little high school consistently does this. Last year we had 15, but we also had a class of 260. This year we had 7 in a class of less than 200. It's not just amazing, it's an outstanding accomplishment by these kids. So please join me in congratulating them. I know we have 1 here tonight. Thank you, Lillian, for coming out. Obviously, there are 1,000 different things these kids are pulled in the direction of. Speech and debate this weekend. This past weekend, we had 2 qualify for nationals. This weekend, we'll probably qualify a handful more. They're going to head off to another competition in, I think, 3 weeks. Is that right? Not to mention all the other sports going on. Unfortunately, many got canceled. So please join me in congratulating them. Lillian, you're standing in for everybody.
Lillian, if we can have you come up here. You're representing all of them. Yeah. That is really remarkable. You get to this place, and so we are so very proud of you and your accomplishments. And congratulations. This is for the rest of your National Merit Scholarship finalists. Thank you.
All right. I don't think these guys need any introduction, but here we go. 7B, PTA affiliates. This is a recognition. The board will recognize the PTA affiliates for their generous donation of, can I have a drum roll? No, I'm kidding. $428,000. Thank you for the dedicated work of PTA affiliates. They are giving us this very generous amount towards the Medical Arts Academy at San Marino High School. So I'd like to, oh,
The AEDs.
defibrillators, okay. Okay, and Dr. Delatorre, would you like to say a few words? or-
Absolutely. Yes. Thank you so much. So we just want to express our sincerest appreciation and gratitude for PT affiliates. We came to you with an ask for anatomage tables. And this is for our medical academy that we're starting at San Marino High School beginning next fall. And we are very excited about the program, but having the ability to purchase these anatomage tables is a game changer. It's really providing our students with the latest and greatest technologies that are typically found in medical schools. And we're able to provide that to our high school students, which is really, really exciting. And they're going to be able to see within each it's like a giant computer. Within each computer, images of 4 different cadavers. And this 3D imaging and this technology is really state of the art. And each of those cadavers died from a different cause. And so students are going to be able to really look at the differences between, as an example, a cadaver that died from lung cancer versus a cadaver that died from traumatic brain injury. Looking at the lung tissue, right? And being able to see the difference between healthy lung tissue and very porous and dark lung tissue. And it is just amazing. That's just one example of all the wonderful things that they're going to be able to see that they would not typically have access to. And that is being made possible by PT affiliates. And so we are so grateful. And not only that, but we are purchasing additional AED devices or defibrillators district-wide. One of our beloved teachers at San Marino High School, who I've been given permission to talk about his medical condition, but he went into full cardiac arrest while at a high school function earlier in the year. And he was really saved by the quick action and response of one of our teachers and 2 parents in our community that had medical expertise and training. And they not only rendered CPR quickly and effectively, but they also were able to get one of our AED devices or defibrillators, which was in close proximity to where this occurred, to be able to shock his heart back into rhythm before the paramedics arrived. Had it not been for the defibrillator and for these teachers and parents knowing how to administer CPR, he would not have made it, or he would have been in really bad shape. So that really heightened our awareness of how important these devices are, and also making sure that they're within close proximity to wherever an incident might occur. That is a game changer for us. And so we want to make sure we have enough defibrillators to be able to strategically place them throughout the campuses so that they're not too far away. Time is everything when you have someone going into cardiac arrest. So we're so grateful for PTA affiliates and their generous donation, and all the work that you do makes a difference in our community and the larger community. So thank you so much, Stephanie, for your leadership, Liz Neer for, just always being there and being a part of PT affiliates, Pat Marr, just being such a great, wonderful contributor to all the things that go really well in our community, and being a part of a wonderful organization that really keeps things going. You make a difference, a positive difference, and we owe you a debt of gratitude. Thank you so much. We appreciate you.
Dennis, you get to come up again.
That is a cute.
Call everybody up?
Well, that's Rotary. Are we talking about Rotary too?
No. Okay,
Okay.
so bring your PTA.
Yeah, let's do PT affiliates
Liz
first, and
first.
then we're gonna do Rotary.
Yes.
Okay. Absolutely. Dr. Richter, you should be in the picture, actually. Can you Because you helped me with the grant.
Get Joseph in there.
You need to get Joseph in here, because this is like a brain, it's like a baby, it's like, you know.
Everybody look here. 1, 2, 3.
Fist bumping? Okay, how are you? So Mary Payne and Vivian, who are always there as well, rock stars, thank you so much. We appreciate you. And Vivian, I love your shoes.
Oh.
Wow, how do we follow up with that?
And I hope Rotary's got nice shoes on today.
All right, 7C, San Marino Rotary Club, we are recognizing you for your generous donation of $25,000, and this will go towards San Marino High School Medical Arts Academy. And Dr. Delatorre will say a few words.
Thank you, President Ryan. Again, I want to express my sincerest appreciation and gratitude. So not only to President Rob Fielder, thank you so much for your leadership in Rotary, and thank you so much for supporting the school district and being such a gracious partner. And also John Jones for his involvement in allowing this grant request to be approved. Thank you, sir, for all of your support. And of course, last but certainly not least, Mr. Dennis Neer, who is just a great supporter of our schools. We're eternally grateful for you, Dennis, and for all of the work that you do to support us and to really provide us with unique opportunities to do wonderful things for our students. And you know, I'm going to thank you again for allowing us to receive the grant that paid for our Raptor system. There is nothing more important than keeping our kids safe and secure. And you gave us the grant for that last year, which we have implemented, and it's been working, well. And so thank you for that. And then this grant is going to contribute to our state-of-the-art program at San Marino High School, which we would not be able to do this without your support. We're getting 40 iPads, an iPad cart for the classrooms that we're going to be using. And so this is, again, providing our students with the technology that they need to be very connected to the curriculum and the wonderful things that are going to be happening in our medical arts program. So thank you for your generosity and your kindness and your support of the district. Thank you. Thank you. Oh, one more thing I forgot. Thank you. We're also purchasing Precision OS, which is it's actually a virtual experience for our students. There's a headset that our students can place on them. And then there's a device that they hold in their hand, and it will literally transport you from the classroom into the operating room. And this system, this virtual experience will walk you through performing an actual surgery. It will guide you to pick up instruments from the table, and you will see a patient on the table that you're going to be operating on. And again, this is equipment and this is technology that is normally only found in medical schools. And we're going to be able to bring that into our high school curriculum. So thank you. And that is so amazing. And if you haven't already had a demonstration of this, we'll have to invite you back to do that. I know Stephanie and her wonderful husband, Dr. Jan Duncan,
We'll have to come and
provided us with a
demonstrate again.
demonstration of what that's like, and it's incredible. Yeah, so thank you so much.
all right.
Thank you for reminding me. Yeah, let's take pictures. Mhm.
Did you find out?
I told them they got on social media. I'm gonna be first in line for an operation. That's how we completed it.
Now here, 1, 2.
Thanks.
The check picture.
Big one?
That's on there. Fine. So are you the one, we don't want to open your closet doors when we come to your house?
Oh, yeah. He said, all right.
I know.
It's fine. I feel like that's perfectly acceptable. Oh, yeah. Sort of out of my brain.
Yeah.
I know.
That's for you, Sean.
Thank you so much for coming, everyone. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Drive safe. Boring.
Still rivering.
Looks like I know. Crazy. Yes, sparkles on her eyes. Oh, I know. I know. It's been throwing us off. I know.
All right. Next, we have public comment. The Board of Education has adopted Board Policy 9323B to ensure the public's right to be heard in any matters pertaining to the San Marino Unified School District. Persons who wish to provide public comment will have 3 options to submit public comments. This afternoon, you could have submitted through an online form. We did not have any submission. Number 2, request to speak during the meeting via Zoom. Dr. Choi?
Thank you, President Ryan. We're going to pause for 1 minute to take requests to speak regarding matters that are not on the agenda, items in the consent or information sections. Go ahead and please press the raise hand icon if you'd like to make a request to speak. Thirty seconds remain. If you'd like to make a request, go and press the raise hand icon. We have no requests.
Thank you, Dr. Choi. Next, request to speak during the meeting in person via the public comment card. There are no cards. All right. 8A, communication from the audience regarding matters not on the agenda or items in the consent or information sections. Please provide your comments now for items in the action section of the agenda. Please provide your comments prior to the board beginning discussion on these items. There are none. All right. Under the consent section, I am seeking a motion to approve the consent section 9A to 9K. TBWBH props and measures has been updated to be titled Team CIVX 10 LLC on the 2022-2023 contracts and agreement report.
I move to approve the consent section with the adjustment to the contract for TBWBH props and measures to be updated to Team CIVX LLC.
May I have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Mrs. Chung. Thank you, Mr. Chang. And with that, if there's no further discussion, I'd like to do a roll call. Ms. Lam?
Aye.
Mrs. Gill?
Aye.
Mrs. Chung?
Aye.
Mr. Chang?
Aye.
Mrs. Ryan? Aye. And the motion has passed. All right, 10, communication section, communication from the Board of Education. Let's begin with Mrs. Lam.
Thank you. On March 2nd, I attended the Masters in Governance Training for Student Learning and Achievement. On March 3rd, I attended the Masters in Governance Training on Policy and Judicial Review. Both sessions were very informative and engaging, and I feel will bring a lot of value to the board. On March 9th, I attended Carver's first annual dance-a-thon, which was lots of very great spirits. Students were great. It was the cutest thing ever because you saw first graders cheer for the second graders. You saw the second graders cheer, so on and so forth. My heart melted. So I couldn't help but also get in on the dance-a-thon as well. So thank you for that.
All right, Mrs. Gill.
Okay, seems like it's been a while since we've reported,
Yes,
right?
yes.
So back on the 21st of February, I attended the Valentine PTA meeting. On the 23rd, I attended the HMS showcase, which closely followed the high school move up day for the 8th graders. And I just love how we're integrating all of our school sites. I think it's so exciting for our students to really feel connected as they move through our schools. So on the 24th, I went to Mom's Night In for Valentine. The 25th was San Marino Little League's opening day, and they honored Mr. Tapolian and Dr. De La Torre with their own special jerseys for the ribbon cutting for our new batting cages, which is a great addition for the schools and for Little League. So let's see what else. There's so much. Well, recently I went to the parent party for Valentine, the elementary school band concert, the Chicago musical, and like Joanna, I've been going to the Masters in Governance, continuing with that. And today I actually went to the finance and school budgeting course. And it was actually really exciting because they featured San Marino as one of the, not just doing more with less as like the lowest funded California school district, but doing the most with less because we're so high achieving and so high performing. And it's just a credit to our exec team and to our community, and just made me really proud.
Thank you.
Oh, very cool. Yeah, it's been a while. So schools is visited the robotics rollout, the Old Mill field trip. It was nice to be back on field trips again. In person. That was really cool. The college admissions on Zoom, it's impressive how much our college admissions and advising has really been ramped up to provide this really 360 holistic preparation for our students from before they even start at the high school all the way through their admissions. Also the dance-a-thon and band performance. Also, I went to Chicago this weekend, and I have to pause and talk about Chicago for a minute because what was most impressive about it was the integration of all of our arts. It was on full display between the choir and the dance and the performance and the opportunity for the students to really engage, not just in a show, but something that really resonated, I think, with what they were experiencing. I kept thinking in my head, the idea of the whole concept of the play is about how somebody will do anything for celebrity. And it's all razzle dazzle. There's no substance to it. And I thought, well, that sounds like TikTok if I've ever heard it. And so I thought it was just such a relevant topic for our high school kids to explore in this way. But the choreography was just fantastic and really just elevated and accessible and rigorous. I think that was the thing. Everybody thinks of arts as being something Mickey Mouse and simple. There was nothing Mickey Mouse or simple about it. It was a really elevated, rigorous performance. In addition, the community events, the opening day chaired by, she neglected to mention, our chair was Francesca, and the PTO affiliates Q&A for summer school. So appreciative of them for the services they provide to our community for summer school. Shared with Boy Scouts and also had some conversations around safety with community members. Attended the PTA council meeting. We also had a facility advisory tour, facility advisories committee tour, and we also had a meeting. And I believe we have another tour coming up scheduled on the books for those in the community who want to join that. We had to reschedule it because of the rain, which also gives an opportunity for everybody who wants to see what our sites look like in person. But I know we're going to talk about some of that facility advisory work tonight later in the meeting, so I won't talk about that now. Two other things real quickly. LOXTA wanted to share that they have executive board nomination applications due March 20th. So that would be for our board members if they would like to apply. They are asked to submit their information and statement of interest. So you can ask me for more information if you would like to apply for that. I have the contact information. And then I also participated in the CSBA Legislation Advocacy Week meeting this afternoon with Senator Portantino. And I have another one on the books with Assembly Member Mike Fong. And then the advocacy that CSBA has asked trustees to engage in revolve around two main issues. One would be the budget priorities to fully fund LCFF COLA without cuts to the arts and music and instructional materials block grant. Oh, I knew the acronym. And then to also remain focused on sustaining our existing programs, particularly those categorical programs that we've been able to implement, like the extended learning and TK expansion and universal meals, because those are such critical components of ensuring our students' needs are met, and to see those cut in the future would be detrimental moving forward. They also, CSBA also asked for us to advocate for the legislation regarding increasing cybersecurity support for schools and for addressing the small school district administrator to teacher ratio caps, which present an undue burden on administrators and really tie the hands of schools to be able to find the support they need. And those are, that's it. Sorry.
Thank you. Mr. Chang.
First of all, I like to one more time appreciate PTA affiliate President Stephen Duncan for the PTA affiliate contribution on the medical art. So I think this dream almost come true. Yeah, looking for the next semester for the student participation. Yeah. Secondly, last 2 weeks have been very busy for me. First of all, I past Saturday, I attend the PCC President Advisory Committee meeting. And then I also attend a Valentine PTA party, wonderful. And also the past Thursday cover dance a song is a great. And also the high school have a Chicago musical program. This once a year I always enjoy because I can see to enjoy our performance art result from the teaching and the learning. Yeah. And Saturday I always support for Latino community, so they have a quarterly art performance too. So I was at the Lincoln High, and they have a performance support by a bilingual foundation of the arts. So I hope someday, our High School can have an exchange with them to have a performance. Yeah. And then I also attend the San Marino Little League Open Day and a robotic rollout. And also I listen for the cover emerging language presentation. And finally, today is a big day for me because I was invited to attend remarks of President Biden at Montreal Park. So take a couple years for security check. And they say they cannot, the umbrella consider is not allowed. So I'm gonna take about 1 hour outdoor waiting for the check-in. So the President Biden, because of the Montreal Park mass shooting, so then come here to grieve for those victim family, and also he hoped have some degree of gun control, yeah, so to minimize some the tragedy, yeah. So our alumni of San Marino High School, Brandon Shea also there, yeah. Okay, and that's what I have.
All right, thank you, Mr. Chang. The advantage of being president is that you have all the other board members say all the events, so you don't have to. So I'm only going to mention the ones that they haven't mentioned. And I was able to attend 2 foundation meetings. I think Jane was with me there. Significant water damage is coming in, so we've had a hard look at some of our facilities. Jane and I, Mr. Chang, took a tour last weekend and saw a lot of the damages, but thank you, Gil, because we're able to really see what the needs are, what the facilities needs are. Sometimes when we talk about it, we don't quite get the depth and the breadth of it all. Again, thank you to the Rotary for the $25,000 to support our new medical arts program, paying for the 40 iPads. We can't thank you enough for the Precision OS virtual reality subscription headsets and material. Thank you again, PTA affiliates, Stephanie Duncan, for awarding us $428,000 to fund our 4 Animage tables and additional AED devices for all 4 schools. So I did have it, Stephanie. I know you were trying to correct me there, but okay. Also, after hearing about the life-threatening incident, the PTA affiliates, definitely you've stepped up and you have helped us to make our district safer with these devices on each of the campus sites. We did learning walks with the board. Each of us have gone through. We had a special meeting, which gave us a more in-depth look at the governor's budget, as well as special education and the impact on general funds and block scheduling. Thank you, Jason just left, but thank you, Jason, for presenting that for us with Carlos. Emergency repairs. Thank you, Dr. Lynn, for getting us to look at the resolution for emergency repairs and restoration required. Jason, I already thanked you. You can go now. Sorry. Just kidding, Jason. All right. Been attending, we attended, Mr. Cheng and I attended the California Distinguished Schools Valentine and Carver award at Disney. And we are behind. We're like 2 months behind in reporting. Thank you, Dr. Richter, for bringing us Mandarin dual language immersion, all the hard work you and Dr. Delatorre put towards that. I also went down to San Diego and I viewed a High Tech High, which is a school that integrates arts with technology. And I thought that was really outstanding. I shared it with our cabinet and coalition. Okay, Little League, you guys mentioned. Oh, this weekend I spent it with speech and debate. I was there on Friday night. I met with the teams. I attended Chicago Friday evening, and then I was back Saturday morning for speech and debate. Also attended the PCC meeting and woohoo for the Valentine party. And our principal is here. Thank you so much for what you and PTA do for our children. And Monday, attended a meeting with Assembly Member Evan Lowe, and he had some interesting things to say about what needs to be happening in our capital and our nation. Okay, thank you. Dr. Linda Delatorre, you're up.
Thank you, President Ryan, members of the Board of Education, executive team. I'd just like to, first of all, start by saying thank you to our wonderful, amazing, and energetic principals. I'm just impressed every time I step foot on their campuses and I just see the work that they're doing day in and day out. They're met with many, many challenges and they always rise above and just do what is best for kids. And so I'm just so grateful for each one of them. And I also want to say thank you to Gil Cardenas, the Director of Maintenance and Operations. President Ryan was just talking about some of the hardships that we have experienced recently due directly to the atmospheric rivers that are coming our way. And it's just incredible to me. I mean, we've gone from a drought to having all these atmospheric rivers. And so we have had a lot of leaky roofs, water damage. I know Principal Topalian has had a little river in his hallway and in his office, and he's been out there, trying to sweep that water away from the front doors to the admin building at Huntington. We had about 2 feet of water in the Huntington Middle School basement to contend with. We've had, the electrical panel has been damaged. We didn't have heat in the Huntington Middle School auditorium for a while. Principal McAlpine had water coming down from her ceiling in her office. Principal Caldwell had in the library, a leaky roof, and also in other areas of his campus. The teacher's lounge was one. The computer lab, I believe, had some water damage as well. So it's everywhere. I know the high school has had to contend with the counseling office. It was actually raining in their hallway, which is never a good thing. And upstairs near the English classes, there was a lot of flooding and, leaking as well. So throughout this entire situation, Mr. Cardenas has kept his cool. He's been very responsive, trying to do everything within his power, inspiring his team to go out and, help out when and where they can.
trying to take care of the flooding. And I know our principals have been very adaptable and flexible. So thank you so much for your leadership. It's during the challenging times that you figure out what you're really made of as a principal. And so you're all able to find that out throughout these storms. So thank you so much. And I hear there's another storm coming in soon. So, just be ready. It's coming. And thanks to all of you. What's that? It's here. Yes. So we appreciate the work that you're doing. Also, Dr. Richter and I we had the ability to go to a national education conference that was held in San Antonio, Texas. And there we learned a lot about where education is headed in the future. We were able to connect with superintendents from all over the nation that are doing some incredible work with kids and really taking education to the next level. We were able to connect with vendor partners who are doing some really advanced work in the area of technology. And it was a wonderful experience for us to be able to see how education is being managed in other parts of our country. And I still think we're doing it better than everyone else. But there are certainly opportunities for us to grow and to do things differently and to certainly look for ways that we can continue to be innovative and progressive. And so we learned a lot from that experience. It's with a heavy heart that I, share with the board again that Mr. Rose passed away. Mr. Rose served this district as superintendent for 8 years. He loved this district dearly. He was a resident of this community. So not only did he serve in a professional capacity, but he was a San Marino resident and really truly cared about all of our students and the quality of education that they received. He really truly exemplified what it means to be a student-centered leader in our school district and worked tirelessly with his principals, his teachers, would dress up like Santa Claus every year and go into the kindergarten classrooms and read a book to the kids, and they loved it. They would be super excited to see him, and just a very unique individual who really dedicated his time to this district. So I just wanted to share that more information about his memorial service will be forthcoming, and he will be missed. And I know that Mr. Chang knew him well. But he's going to be missed, and we wish him and his family all the best during this difficult time for them.
You're good? Are you going? You have more?
Yeah.
Oh, thank you.
How about you?
Thank you, Dr. Delatorre. And also, I just wanted to comment on the fact that this evening we did not have communication from our student board member. She had tweaked her ankle, and so she had experienced a little bit of pain. So we gave her the evening off. Yeah. So, all right. All right. 11A. The future facilities improvement feasibility discussion, Ms. Joy Kumar of team. Now I've got to get the letters right. Is it CIBX or VX?
So actually it is Team Civics.
Oh, civics.
To play on a word.
Okay.
And
okay.
X marks the spot. So
Okay.
it's
Yeah, because there were two different Okay.
yes.
So Team Civics LLC will discuss facilities improvement facility with our Board of Education. And we'll begin with, do you want to say anything? Because your name is on there.
Thank you.
Okay.
Well, you
Oh, I did it all.
Of introducing Joy Kumar, who is not new to our school district. Joy has a longstanding history of working with the school district for our bond measures and parcel taxes, and has done a beautiful job and really understands the nuances in our community and has a great track record of success. And so we do have a lot of work ahead of us to determine whether or not a bond measure is in our future. We're working with the board appointed facilities advisory committee. And Joy has been asked to give us her best
prediction of what needs to happen if we are looking at a bond. No decisions have been made. The board certainly has not made a decision to move in that direction. We are just looking at all of our opportunities and options at this point. So with that, I will turn it over to Joy.
Thank you, Dr. De La Torre, Madam President, board members. Joy Coomer with Team Civics. As was mentioned, we have a long relationship with the district. I recently really worked hard under some pretty special circumstances on the parcel tax renewal and making sure that it was renewed before it expired, which was so critically important to the district and something I know you really rely on. It's been such a pleasure to work with the district over the years. I know some of the board members, some of you are newer and I haven't had an opportunity to meet you yet, but our firm is based in Northern California. Most of my personal work is in Southern California. My husband's family also lives down here, so I spend a lot of time in Southern California. We have the partners of our firm have been in business in various different formations since 2002. We have those of us who focus primarily on parcel taxes and bond measures for school districts have formed Team Civics so that our work is really focused on the things we're passionate about and the things we care most about. I have been doing this work continually for nearly 15 years. My passage rate for ballot measures is over 90%. March of 2020 was a difficult season for all ballot measures everywhere, so that one was the exception, but otherwise, this is something that I'm passionate about: education, working with school districts, finding partnerships in their community, and looking at solutions that they're facing for difficult situations. The slides that I'll be presenting tonight is really a big picture overview of bond planning, what a timeline looks like, and sort of those immediate next steps. I'm happy it's short, and so I'm happy to answer other questions. I just really wanted to provide that big picture overview as we go through the process. So a quick discussion about Proposition 39 general obligation bonds. The big qualifier here is that districts across the state, whether it's this year because of all the atmospheric rivers or growth in some communities or lots of changing conditions across the state, have needed a way to help fund facility needs. The state has not been a partner in this process for a long time. There are state bonds that do exist, but you're only eligible for those if you have your own matching funds. And so districts are on their own when they're looking to upgrade, fix, build, change their schools. It's really something that you have to find a local solution for. Thankfully, Proposition 39 bonds exist so that you can build that relationship with your community and the community can come together and help make the changes that need to be done. It is something that is so incredibly common across the state. In this past election in November of 2022 in LA County, we worked on several of the bond measures. I think nearly all of them passed. I know all the ones we did pass. I can't think of one now that failed, but I'm sure there's always one. So I won't say everyone passed, but there is a consistent history of communities supporting their own local bond measures. And the reason is because they know that their money is going directly to the school district that they care most about. It's not going to the state or somebody else's district. It's staying right there. There are a few rules about Proposition 39 bonds, and there are two different kinds of bonds. There's a Proposition 46 bond, a Proposition 39. For the topic of this discussion, I'm going to stick to Proposition 39 because they are the most common and they allow you to do the most things that you would likely need to do for a bond. They do require 55% approval from all voters voting in a specific election. That's different than local elected officials, which would require 50% plus one. So it is a supermajority of the voters. They also have to be on regularly scheduled elections. So whereas parcel taxes can be on pretty much any Tuesday you would like, any time of any year, Bonds have to be very specific. And the reason for that is intentional when these were set up. It's so that voters who are used to voting in regular elections are paying attention to those important issues that are in their community and are participating on those issues. So you can see that there are only a few options if a district is considering a bond that they would be able to look at that ballot for. We have March and November of next year. That would be the presidential primary and the presidential general election. And if you were, or any district were not to go in that election, they would have to wait until 2026. And the opportunity there would be June of 2026 for the gubernatorial primary or November of 2026 for the gubernatorial general. So most districts that are looking at November of 2024 are beginning that whole facilities master planning and project planning piece right now. And they're also looking at doing the same things that the district is, bringing in professionals to help with the scheduling and the planning and the rollout of how you would build a relationship with your community about this potential. The election, so the board does not have to make a final decision about whether to go out for a bond or not until 88 days before. Now I have a calendar on the next slide, or a slide that has more graphics that show exactly those dates, but it means that you have a lot of time, but you also have set deadlines that you have to meet. In the resolution that the board would adopt to put a bond measure on the ballot, you have to state the projects. Now, you don't have to be very specific about everything you would do. You don't have to say, we'll replace the lights at Huntington and we'll replace the carpet at Carver, just, examples. You would do more broad projects about the things that you would need to do, but there has to be a defined project list that the voters understand what they would be voting for. So it has to be in the resolution with the project list. You also must include the estimate on the tax rate and the bond amount. So there's a lot of other professionals who do that very specific work. Your team works with Kegent, Chet Wang. He's been a great partner to the district. And so he helps us provide those final pieces if something were to be put together. After the election, the district has to appoint a citizens oversight committee, and they are required to do annual audits. So those are things that are very specific to a Prop 39 bond. The reason most districts look at the Prop 39 bond over a Proposition 46, Proposition 46 requires, like a parcel tax, a 2/3 yes vote from the electorate, so 66.7, and you are limited to bricks and mortar with a Proposition 46 bond. So higher threshold and very limited. So districts tend to only use that if they are, say, building a brand new school, and they know that that's exactly what the funds would be for. So you can't, provide furnishings, you can't do technology with Proposition 49 bonds. That's why they're very limited in their use anymore. It's possible that your older bonds, some of them might have been Proposition 46 before because of the changes in the law over the last 25 years. So the bond measure planning timeline. So we have 4 steps that we've identified here. The first 3 are all things that the district can do. They can, do any one of these things as you're working through the process. And it really is about preparing. It's not making a decision yet. It's doing all the steps that you would need to do in order to be well-informed and make a decision about whether to move forward. We think of those as the feasibility. So that's doing a voter survey, beginning outreach to key communication groups, looking at what else is going on in the community or in your county, what other options are available to you. The next 2 steps are awareness building and measure development. That's really those non-advocacy communications, discovering all the needs, putting all the work in to get ready for the board to do a resolution. The final step, independent campaign committee. A lot of people think about, something that requires voter support and they automatically think of the campaign. That actually is a piece that has to be done separately by an independent campaign committee. So those are a group of parents or community members who care about the yes vote and getting out that yes vote, they would take that piece up separately and do that. That's not something that the district can do. The district can only provide information about a potential measure. They can't actually advocate yes or no on any particular measure. So if a district were looking at March of 2024, that 88 days before the election is December of 2023. It's actually very early in December. I should have that here, but it's probably December like 9th. But most districts would vote probably in October of November of this year in order to qualify for the March ballot. So you can see that's a very quick timeline. Considering where the district is in the process, that seems highly unlikely here. What is more likely is perhaps a November of 2024 election. In order to qualify for that election, the board would have to qualify for pass a resolution. That date is actually early August, the first week of August. I put here July of 2024, simply because there's nearly no board that has meetings that can meet the qualification date in August. Practically speaking, most boards would vote in June because they're dark in July. And just knowing how board schedules busy they are, as you can see, we're just a little over 1 year. So we're probably right at the exact moment we need to be looking at a November of 2024 election. So recommended next steps. Some of these are things that we've already, the district has already put in place and team members have also been working on. But during this month, we would also be looking to partner with a voter survey firm, one that the district has worked with in the past, to begin doing a survey of residents and finding out, what are things that they think are important? How do they understand what a potential bond would look like? Those very, pieces. And so as we bring that firm on board, they'll be working with a lot of different pieces to make sure that we're asking the right questions, we're finding out the right projects. So all of those pieces kind of happen after we bring them on. You'll be continuing the facilities master planning process. So we're in the very early stages right now. It is very natural. Most districts are in the exact same place. Facilities master planning often is going on right at this exact time. All these pieces actually fit in together really, really well. There is very rarely any district who has a facilities master plan in place when they start a voter survey. It just doesn't happen because they tend to just dovetail really nicely together. April through June, you can see that we're looking at, actually getting that survey fielded. These dates might not be, we may be pushing things back a little bit. It just depends on how different things happen at each time. But this gives us an idea through the end of June, kind of a pacing and things that we would be looking to do. Once the survey is completed, of course, we'd bring that back to the board, present those results, share those. That'll be a piece of the puzzle as you continue to work on what's best for the district and moving forward. We also would be working with the district on all the communications, building, helping the district and being a partner in building the communication plan and how best to do that outreach to your community. So these are the slides that I have tonight. Again, happy to answer any questions anyone might have.
So if there's a bond election, is a board member can endorse or no? The reason I actually, before I know the answer, but for the last election on the PCC, the bond, they are very aggressive. They put all even the president and the trustee name there. So is that's allowable or not allowable for endorsement?
Endorsements, yes. So as you wouldn't necessarily take a vote as a board to endorse the parcel tax, but as individuals, you still retain your individual rights. And you can always, so a lot of times city council members, board members, assembly members. They will endorse a local ballot measure that they care about in their school district. And oftentimes the independent campaign committee will say, their titles are for information purposes only. They're not endorsing as a part of the school district, for example, they're endorsing as an individual and they're using their title for identification. Board members often are involved in a campaign committee, but again, it's in their own personal time. They're not officers of those campaign committees for lots of technical reasons, but oftentimes they are involved, right? It's something they care about and they want to be involved in, and they want to make sure that it's successful. But it never happens during school hours or as part of a school process. It is all volunteer, individual, on your own time.
I had a question regarding the contract. So the voter survey. So let me back up a second. So I know in our consent agenda, we did include a contract for voter survey. Can you speak to that a little bit?
Yes, so this is a company that we have used in the past to poll our community on the issue of feasibility. And actually Joy can probably expand on that with more specificity since she was involved.
Yes.
In that process indirectly as our consultant. So Joy, can you talk about that?
Yeah, so the firm that the district is working with is FM3. The district has worked with FM3 very consistently in the past. They really are the leader in LA County. There are lots of firms that I work with that I would recommend without hesitation. Oftentimes, they're I want to think about their standards and the way they do things is very similar, right? They're all using text and email and online surveys. They're only using phones for backup. They have very, rigorous standards in order to make sure that it's an actual reflection of your community. They do translation. They offer, multiple services, but FM3, quite honestly, does so much work in LA County. They do work for the supervisors. They're the supervisors, pollsters. I think 3 of the 5 supervisors work with FM3. So they just have so much knowledge of this area and your community. It's why when we were looking at firms that we considered them. John Fairbank is one of the founding members. He is, of course, included in the proposal. There is also a vice president who will be working very closely with the district, who also has worked with the district in the past, Adam. Incredibly smart, intelligent people who have done this a very long time. And again, the reason that I recommended them and the district thought it would be wise was because of their just deep knowledge of your area.
So I think in our facility advisory committee, we spoke extensively about there being 2 pieces as we look at our facilities. There is the facility needs assessment, which is really looking at the deferred maintenance, looking at our infrastructure needs that are just absolute, like all of the flooding that we've seen and the damage it's inflicted, the need for modernization, safety, a huge piece of that. And these are just our needs. When we talk about the facilities master planning, though, at that point, we're looking beyond just those needs, right? So when we're talking about the voter survey and we're talking about the facilities master planning, what is the information that goes even into asking the right questions? How do we even know where we are looking to know what to ask? Because I think when we're doing a survey, you have to ask the right question, right? And you want to lead, you don't necessarily want to lead your recipients of the survey, the survey respondents. Thank you. You don't necessarily want to lead the respondents to a specific conclusion. You really want to open that conversation to really get all the information in. So what is the work we're doing going into that part of it to inform the survey, which I think will in itself then inform the master plan? How does that work? I think this is more of a question for Dr. Delatorre. How does that work with our advisory committees and how we're hoping to use some of that input?
So in the past, as I recall, we had a subcommittee of the Board of Education that was able to weigh in on that and work more closely with FM3 and their professionals on the development of the survey and what particular questions we would ask of our community members and more specifically our voters and the voting population in San Marino. So there was a lot of back and forth between the district staff, board member input, and FM3 with their expertise and their experience with this polling and how that works. So is that correct? Before we even send anything out?
Yes, yeah, there is a
Community, that work will be done internally. And I believe that the two members of the board who are working on facilities as appointed by the board would be President Ryan and you. So you will have that opportunity, both of you, to work with FM3, myself and Dr. Lynn.
yes. And
Joy.
yes, and honestly, if we felt like, so every district is unique in what they need. And so there are times that when we're doing this feasibility process, we bring in other people. So for example, we may bring in, some districts have brought in, principals as part of that survey development. Some districts have brought in a couple teachers, PTA heads. Keeping in mind that the more people you bring in, the harder it is to come to consensus. And sometimes we still need to get, we need to get the work done. But we can be flexible to meet the needs of the district and make sure that the survey is actually a reflective of what you need. Honestly, to me, that is the heart of what I do. Sometimes I think districts get a little bit of disservice. Survey firms want to find you a yes. And they know all the great things that get voters to say yes. No voter wants, leaky roofs. They think of sad children in classrooms, with water falling on their head. But that may not be, it is the need this week, but there's a lot of bigger needs that we also need to make sure that go into that survey. And I think that really helps. One of the great examples I like to think of is we were working with a district and they were, working with their master plan. They had all outdoor eating. So all students ate outdoors all the time. And the covers were, just kind of open basic covers. So it wasn't inside. In the survey process, there was this idea of making cafeterias, indoor places where students could eat. And no one thought it would poll very well. Everybody wanted to talk about other things, leaking roofs, old windows, outdated classrooms. But what we heard back, not only from the community, but from the voter survey, was the number one issue for that community was, let's enclose these, like kids, right, the outdoor conditions and eating. It was just not a pleasant experience for the kids because the weather is changing all the time now. And districts were having to scramble to make alternative, on 2 hot days, on 2 windy days. So the board actually, and the committee made a decision that part of their bond was actually going to be committed to enclosing those facilities. Now, that was an organic process that happened as we were going through all these steps. No one could have predicted when we first started that that was going to be the number one priority. So you're right, there is a list of projects and there is a big hope and dreams of the facilities master plan. The goal is to find the right spot to ask those questions in the survey. And hopefully that also helps you understand which projects maybe should be prioritized in the final facilities master plan, because there may be some things that you hadn't thought of that people feel like is the most important. Is that helpful? Does that answer it?
I have a question.
Yes.
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. So the wish list is great, but I think we also have to look at the financials. Are we asking the community what kind of appetite they have for a bond and what that means to everybody's pocketbook, like how much they're willing to pay every month or, for the year, in addition to our existing bond ones that ending? And can we just trade payments?
So that is an option, you know, without, again, that's not my expertise. That is your financial advisor's expertise, but that is one district, one option that's on the table for the district. Can we merely keep paying? And the numbers may actually work out that, you know, it's more favorable to the community and taxpayers, but it is that concept. Can we just keep paying what we're already paying? And this is not an additional tax on top of what we already are paying, because you do have a lot of bonds that are about to fall off the books. And it would be just saying, we need you to keep your commitment to the district again, as we can, you know, our facilities have changed, our needs have changed. Our schools are getting old. We need to reinvest into our community. So that is an option on the table, and it's probably the most likely option, but the survey can also help us understand, is that a path forward for us? And yes, we would actually be asking the ballot question that voters would be voting on. We can, you know, sometimes in some districts, there are multiple things going on, and we can even ask how they feel about this issue over here and how it affects their issue on our vote. So there are lots of options there as we're developing this survey.
Okay, and my second question would be, is it feasible at all to get on the primary, the June 24
So
ballot, in case, like our past property tax, it didn't fail, we didn't have to wait another 2 years, we could go back in November?
so the primary election in 24 is March. California
sorry.
moved up. Yeah. I mean, it is not impossible. So the answer is, I have districts right now who are starting right now. And one of the things that we're looking at with the feasibility study is March an option. I think the hard decision in that piece, and I think it is the struggle in your district as well, is that you will be going through a facilities master planning process. And I think that there will be people who want a book that they can look at. And I can't say that it would be impossible to have a book that people could look at by March. But, you know, by the time you had to call for the election in November of this year, you might have a draft, but you probably won't have the final copy just yet. And so I think that would be our challenge here, if I'm being quite frank.
But that gives us 2 chances as opposed to waiting 2 years. I mean, it seems like our facilities have some critical needs. That
Yes.
I think our best opportunity is 2024 for sure, because our bonds are going to expire in 2025.
Yes.
And our financial advisors have produced a no tax increase option
Yes.
for us, just as information only, which would be viable potentially. And so we're looking at all of those considerations. And certainly we want to maximize our potential. But again, we have a lot of legwork to do to get there. And we want to make sure that we have everything in place that we need if that's where the board decides to go. Because again, the board hasn't decided to move us in that direction yet. And the Facilities Advisory Committee appointed by the board is doing a lot of that legwork themselves. And then they're going to bring back a recommendation to the Board of Education. That's the work that they should be doing and that they were appointed to do. And you have 2 Board of Education members to that committee that are your liaisons that will keep, you know, you informed, and will be presenting back to you during board member comments in the future. So I just really think that this conversation and input is wonderful, and want to make sure that you guys are all as informed as you can be throughout this process, and that you have the ability and opportunity to ask questions of not only Joy, but our financial advisors and FM3 once they get on board. So we're going to continue to bring these professionals back to the board. They're going to continue to meet with the FAC. And there's a lot of work that will be happening behind the scenes with your representatives to the FAC with respect to the survey and everything else. Yeah, but thank you. These are great questions.
Yes, and I will be back on a regular basis to
Mhm.
provide updates and keep everybody informed. That I think is very key. So March is not out of the question, but I do think that the voter survey will also give us a clear insight into whether that's more feasible. It's also important to know that although you have a very robust voting community who, participates in elections, the reality is that March is a lower turnout than November. So oftentimes districts find that a higher turnout is better for them. Just more people participating in the process tends to do better for a district.
Oh, I had a question. My question is related to engagement for voter surveys. How are you measuring engagement and how are the populations being segmented?
Good question. I would say FM3 would give the best answer to that, but I've done this work a lot that I can give you a pretty good overview. I always joke I could give their presentation. So right, they take a look at your voter population as a whole, and as a whole, there are many different segments that are important in determining voter outcome and voter opinions. So, one thing that sort of gets looked at is if a person is a Democrat or if a person is a Republican. And that sort of begins to tell you how they might think about a particular issue. It doesn't mean it's 100% true, but that gives you an idea. And then do they live in somebody in the household who shares that political affiliation with them? So is it two Democrats living in a household? Because two Democrats who live in a household tend to agree on things. They sit down to dinner, they talk about politics, they're reinforcing each other. They tend to have a very specific outcome. Two, Republicans who sit down to dinner and have a discussion, same outcome, right? A Democrat living with a Republican and sharing a life, they may not agree on everything. They may have very different opinions. So that is one segment that, right, they're looking at when they're looking at it. They also look at ethnicity, language spoken, men versus women, age. There are so many very particular breakouts. Each one of those breakouts gets its own segmentation and its own percent representation of your community. So if 3% of your community is women who are Democrats over the age of 50 and have an income of a certain amount, then exactly the number of people they will survey will be 3% of the survey size. So if the survey is 400, 3% of that 400 will be that very specific demographic. And they make sure that they're slotting in a person for every single one of those segments so that they can assure that their survey is 95% it has a like 95% of error plus or minus 4%, as if they spoke to every single voter in your community. And it is because of that very specific segmentation that they do. Again, their survey, they will be translating and offering the survey in more than one language because your community is, you have a diverse community that speaks more than one language. So that will be available to people, and that'll be an important part of the process as well.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
Which school district did you work latest project and with a successful?
So this past November in LA County, I worked with Downey Unified School District. They passed a nearly $600 million bond. I also worked with Long Beach Unified School District. We passed a $1.7 billion bond. So those are the two big ones in LA County that I worked with this past November.
About any school district in the San Gabriel Valley?
I'm trying to think. I don't think I had anyone that local. I had mostly those two districts and a few up in Riverside. Our district, though, has worked with many right here, including a lot of the neighbors, right? Pasadena, South Pasadena, Glendale, Arcadia, La Cañada. So we have done all of those. I think your regionalization is important and it has a very distinct personality to it. But a similar school district to you that I worked with last year was Los Altos School District. I also helped them pass their parcel tax with its first ever COLA. So similar size district, even though they're an elementary school district, and also a very similar community to yours. So a lot of experience working with communities like yours and in this region.
And she also worked with the school district's committee for the passage of Measure E the second time.
Yes, yes.
So she was able to work with Namjack,
Yes.
who was leading that committee
Yeah.
to the successful passage of our Measure E the second time.
Yes.
Anyone else? No, all right. Joy, I know that Mr. Chang, Dr. Delatorre and myself, a number of us here, were here with you the last time we tried to pass the bond. And one of the things that struck a very important thing that struck me during that particular process was the lack of, I felt the lack of communication between all the parts.
Yes.
The facilities master plan, the FAC committee, the survey people. And so who oversees all that in this second round that we're going through? Like who's going to, is it Jane and I on the FAC? Is it the district? Who's going to make sure that everything comes together and is integrated? Because when we have a survey, it's only as effective as what we need it to render, right? The picture we want to render, but we have to survey enough people. We have to survey the right segment. And Joanna put it right, you know, have we looked at voter demographics and all of that stuff? And how do we integrate all of that information? Because there was a lot of information. And so I didn't feel it was integrated, and I didn't know who was in charge of everything. Because, you know, you said we're not supposed to be out there campaigning for it. So if we're all sitting back and just trying to smile and say, yes, we, you know, we think this is a good idea. This is what our students need. This is what the school needs. Who is going to do that?
Thank you, Madam President. I was here in March. And so I would like to say two things separately. One is that I think there were a lot of issues in the March of 2020 election. First, just, you know, so historically bond rates have passed at nearly 80%. March of 2020 was below 35%. So many districts failed, including the ill-named Proposition 13 statewide bond, which caused a lot of communication issues with local voters who were worried about their own Proposition 13 property protections. So it was on top of COVID, the stock market crashing, and many, many things. It was a very, very bad year. But you've pointed out something that's very important, and I want to make sure that I address. And that is, you felt like there wasn't particularly a leader, and that there were lots of people doing lots of things, and it didn't feel very organized. And I will say, as someone who participated in that process, I agree with that assessment. In most districts, I'm the leader. I come in, I give a timeline, people hear from me, they hear what I'm saying, they hear my advice and the other professionals that they've hired, and that helps inform the board in the best way possible to make the best decisions and how to communicate. And I do feel like there were some hindrances to making all that happen. The district was going through, you know, many different transitions. We were, you know, there was a discussion about the bond sizes. My recommendation, I'm not even sure the board really heard what my recommendation was about how we move forward with the bond. So I think this time you have a different plan and a different leadership. And I am here saying, I would like to be your leader and help make sure that this is done right this time. And that when you as a board are ready to make the decision, that we've done all the things we need to do in an organized and thoughtful way. Because even if a bond passes, all of us experts will be gone and you will be here accountable to your community. And the only way I continue to get work is if I make sure I leave you in a good spot. So my job is not just to help you pass a bond, it's to do it ethically and responsibly and in a way that puts you better than when I started. So I would like to be that leader this time. And I hope that you all will trust me to help you through the process. And it was that trust that helped us get Measure E passed the second time.
Any other questions? No. All right. Thank you so much.
Thank you all very much for your time.
Thank you, Joy.
Have a good evening.
You do the same. Safe travels.
All right. 12A, action items. This is the 2022 to 23 second interim financial report. Dr. Michael Lin will present the second interim financial report and the long-range financial projection to the San Marino Board of Education for review and approval. This is an action item.
Thank you, Board President Ryan, members of the Board of Education, Superintendent Dr. De La Torre, and the executive team. Item 12A is an action item. Okay, the second interim financial report and the long-range financial projections is a routine action item that gets submitted to the county by March 15th of each year. In the board packet, you're going to see the SACS report. That's over 100 pages of details, and the narrative of the SACS report along with the multi-year projection report. Here is the presentation that captures the most important parts of the second interim report. Basically, Educational Code 42-130 and Educational Code 42-131 indicate that there are two reporting periods, with the first ending in October and the second ending in January. The Board of Education holds the authority to certify these reports based on the latest projections as to whether or not we're able to meet our financial obligations for the current fiscal year and two subsequent years. Oops. Here we go. Okay. On this slide, we have three possible types of certifications: negative, qualified, and positive. The staff is happy to report that we are positive in our certification level for the second interim report. What this means is that the district can meet its financial obligations for the current and two subsequent years. Our revenue assumptions are based on a 60 student increase in enrollment since last year. We continue to make use of the 3-year averaging of ADAs and an increase in combined COLA of 13.32% and receipt of local donations. On this slide, we see that we have a $2,040 increase in LCFF revenue since the first interim. So that was only 30 days, 3 months away, 3 months ago. So there's not a significant change. There was a typo for special education in our first interim. The corrected projected amounts point to an additional $65,000 in special education funding since 3 months ago. So what you got in the packet, this is the accurate amount. I've already highlighted the digit that was accidentally transcribed incorrectly. So this is the correct information for our public. This presentation does not get sent to LACO. What gets sent to LACO is the SACS report and the MYP. Those were accurate in the first interim. So this is the correct difference. The good news is we are getting an additional $65,000 in special education in our projections for the second interim when compared to the first interim. Okay, next, you're going to see that the in this pie chart, the bulk of our revenues again come from state LCFF funding, and about 21% coming from local sources in the form of parcel taxes, contributions from the foundation and other contributions. In the first interim, I kind of lumped in the SELPA reimbursement. So this one I separated out with a different color. You're going to see it's 6.9% in local SELPA reimbursements. This is for special education. We get an apportionment from the state. AB 602 is the legislation that gets us this funding. So 6.9% of our funding from AB 602 for special education is coming in from the SELPA. Okay, federal dollars account for 5.7% of our revenues, with state lottery adding another 1.3%. And this is the latest snapshot we have. I know we did the presentation, the budget presentation just last week, and you saw another pie chart. This is the revised one 3 months later after that point. Okay, let's look at the expenses. So for expenses on this slide, we have factored in the 7% ongoing increase in salaries, and then the 5% one-time salary increase for our employees. We also have step and column increases and benefit placements. We have an increase in cost of utilities, supplies, services, and equipment. We also have contributions from the general fund to special education and maintenance operations, which I'm going to have another slide to provide details about. Okay, next slide. We have, this is the expenditure slide, and we have for the negative $238,849 in employee benefits. This is the result of an over projection in our first interim. So the first interim is just a projection based on the numbers ending December, end of October 31st. And then now we're ending January 31st was a snapshot we took, and we compared the two. So another way to look at this number for employee benefits, the employee benefits were projected to be $10,871,509 this past June. So when we did the budget, it was $10.8 million. So the net increase since June of 2022 in employee benefits is $500,000. So that's a better way of looking at this.
Is that we are going to renegotiate insurance again for this year, or we still have one more year?
We are in the process of negotiating health and welfare benefits. Yes.
Oh, we
We did get the rates for this
we
year.
already get a rate.
We got the rates, yeah.
So this spring, we don't have to have a meeting to present for the benefit meeting.
I am not sure. I'll talk to Dr. Rose about that and see what, I know that our broker came in to meet with Dr. Rose just last week. And so they're going to be looking at their options, but the rates came in pretty low
Correct.
this year for renewal. So I don't think that we're in a situation where we're going to be looking at other options this year. Do you remember? Do you remember what the rates are?
Say overall, it was about 5%.
Yeah. So they were very low.
Usually, the insurance company, they keep a 2 year, right?
Right.
And then we need to renegotiate.
Yeah, and so it just depends on how those rates come in. We're self-insured for the PPO and the
Kaiser, right?
HMO. Kaiser, we're fully insured, but through the JPA.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How's the Kaiser rate right now?
Theirs went up
9%.
9%.
Yeah, so they were higher on, and then the PPO
Yeah.
and the HMO on the self-insured side. Yeah.
I think vision and dental went down just a little bit.
Yeah, vision and dental went down.
Okay, on this slide, you're going to see that 73% of our expenditures are in people, with the rest in operations, operation services, books, supplies, and equipment. And finally, we contribute general fund to these two restricted funds in the form of special education and facilities maintenance. For the $1.47 million contribution to facilities maintenance, we're required to maintain what's called an RRMA, which stands for the Regulatory Risk Management and Assurance, upon receipt of funds from the State Allocation Board to adequately maintain our facilities. Okay, here we have our ending balance. It is very strong. for the next 2 years. It is therefore highly recommended that the board approve the district's second interim financial report and certify the district with a positive certification. Okay, thank you. And this concludes my presentation for the second interim report. I'm happy to answer any questions you might have.
You guys have any comments or questions? No.
I just had one question. So this assumes that we have this, I know we still have this rolling average. So this is assuming that we have an increase, a small increase in ADA over the next few years, right? And we're basing that on what?
So we do a cohort model. So we take first graders cohort, move them up. We also use actual data in our projections. So enrollment is how we staff. We use enrollment data to staff. It's the ADA that brings in the actual revenues. The ADA is promised to us. We get apportionments throughout the year. And so therefore, anytime you see an interim report or even the budget, it's a projection based on assumptions. Other factors that go into it is the governor's COLA. And then that affects the LCFF apportionments. Grade span adjustments are also constantly, factored in because the legislature has the final say when they enact the budget and the trailer bills. So there's so many factors involved in how, power is separated in the state democracy, right?
So I guess my question would be, is this a conservative estimate of ADA growth, or is this a more aggressive one?
It's an accurate estimate, neither conservative or liberal, progressive. This is an accurate model we use based on the data we have. If the underlying data changes, then we will create another report. And the good thing about the budget process is that we constantly make adjustments. Just like, the first interim, even if there's a typo, we will report it. We will let the public know. Super transparent. The associations get the SACS report. They don't even look. I mean, this report, the presentation is like the tip of it's just presentation. The SACS report is where the meat is, right? You can't hide things in the SACS report. So it's all public. It's posted on our website, and people do ask us, "Can I download this?" Of course, it's right there. This is the URL. Yeah.
Thank you.
With no other questions, this is an action item. I'd like a motion, if you will.
I'd like to make a motion to approve for 12A.
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Chang. Thank you, Ms. Chung. I'd like to take a vote. Roll call, Mrs. Lam. Aye. Mrs. Gill.
Aye.
Mrs. Chung.
Aye.
Mr. Chang.
Aye.
Mrs. Ryan, aye, and the motion has been approved for the second interim financial report. Thank you. Next, CSBA delegate nominations. The Board of Education will vote for CSBA delegate assembly representatives. And Jane, would you like to speak on that?
Sure. So I took a look at all of the documents that were provided. So there are two delegate nominees, Cross and Scott. And so just on a really cursory level, Cross is a newly elected trustee, I believe was elected in the past election, and really it stands for engagement in the school community. And Scott is a 24-year trustee who is really advocating for addressing technology needs within the school. I would recommend, based simply on the fact that this is a new trustee, there's a lot to take in that first year. And I would love to see Cross continue to pursue this in the future. But I think for the sake of looking at where we're at now, I would recommend that we vote for Dr. Gary Scott.
So Kathleen Cross is the new member?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Sorry. Okay. And how many years has Dr. Scott served?
He actually beat Mr. Chang, 24 years. He's on his 5th term. And he's a former dean of a community college, I believe. He, in our board packet, there was more information about his background. And he's just been a huge advocate for students within his district. So unless
well, if he beat Mr. Chang, I can't vote for him. I'm sorry that you said that.
So unless there's additional information.
So
anyone
Jane,
else?
could you make the motion?
Sure. Are there any other?
Discussion?
No. Okay.
Okay.
So I would move to vote for our board to vote for Mr. Scott for the CSBA delegate.
Okay. Second?
Second.
All right. Thank you, Mrs. Chung. Thank you, Mr. Chang. Roll call vote. Mrs. Lamb? Aye. Mrs. Gill?
Aye.
Mrs. Chung?
Aye.
Mr. Chang?
Aye.
Mrs. Ryan, aye, and the motion has carried for CSBA delegate nomination for Dr. Scott. All right. Do we have any other?
Yes.
Superintendent,
Yeah, I
okay.
do, yeah.
Oh, you do? Okay.
I'd like to discuss about the grandparent. You know, the weekend, I met one community people. They raise the kid at within the San Marino school district, and they are grow up. They are kids just like my kid, the same age. But I was surprised. They don't know the grandparent legacy. Yeah. So then I mentioned to them, they are very excited. So I think maybe we should continue
Put it
to
on our
promote.
website or the papers.
Yeah,
Okay.
and you know what, this probably may impact on the future election, yeah, because right now, you know, they still paying the tax, but there's no motivation for them to pay. And then if their grandkid come back, you know, they definitely
Do you think that San Marino Tribune would be the appropriate place to advertise that? Because we don't.
you know, yes or no, you know, the old time, right now, San Marino Tribune, they control very tight.
Right.
I also talked to Mitch, you know, they don't give the free reading, you know, they used to put everywhere.
Right.
And right now only for subscriber.
Okay.
So if people they are not on the subscriber, they don't know the. I'm thinking that we need to find the way.
Yeah,
Of
to
this
connect with them. And we actually want to have sort of an outreach campaign
Yeah.
with our more experienced members in the community. To be able to connect with them, we were thinking about inviting them to attend one drama performance a year, come to a football game, you know, free of charge. We want to, you know,
we need
start
to
engaging.
we need to do quickly. I already mentioned the several years.
Yeah,
This is
I
the
know.
best.
It is really.
Or selling
truly.
point.
Yes, but I'm just trying to figure out how we can connect with them
Like
directly and
Facebook ads.
specifically. What's that?
Grandparents love Facebook.
Facebook, yeah.
Yeah.
Facebook ads.
Okay, Facebook ads.
Grandparents are on Facebook.
So not TikTok. Right?
Snapchat.
Or you think that we make that?
Or we do a mailing, right? We
yes.
can concentrate on the older demographic through a mailing, but that's gonna cost us money, but we can do that. Mhm. And do like a special newsletter or something, and then invite them to attend some of our showcase events and some of our performances and games. I think that would really help to engage that section.
Can
of
we
our-
include a section where we get a physical copy of the Rex, we get a Rex booklet in the mail and have a section in there for
To Parks and Rec.
We can look
the
into
Parks
it.
and Rec,
Yeah.
yeah.
we can look into
Partnering with the city.
Yeah.
Partner with Parks and Rec, yeah. Mhm.
Yeah, we can certainly ask them. I can talk to Chief Rueda and see
Maybe
if that's
they'll
possible.
provide busing for our senior citizens.
They do have a lot of senior programs.
They
as
do.
well.
I think that's
So
what they-
maybe,
Have that.
maybe we start visiting senior programming. And pitching ourselves.
Yeah, there you go, right?
Mr. Chang, anything else? That
Yeah,
was it.
that
And
is
then, well, when you said grandparent, I thought you were gonna make an announcement. I was a little bit, yeah, because I just saw your son. I mean, superintendent, any discussion items for you?
No, thank you so much.
Okay, and so we are adjourned.